YouTube, what's going on, fellow classmates at the University of People completing your Masters of Ed? I am here, I am Yale Bass, and here with another video on how to grade other classmates' assignments or their writing assignment. So I'm gonna just show you my thought process, and I'm also going to be sharing my screen. So if this is your first time doing grading, you will need the rubric, and make sure that you only look at the 10 out of 10, and you can briefly look at the 8 and the 6. So let's now look at this paper. It's on dwarfism. So the first thing that I notice here is that the student starts with a quote, and you're supposed to integrate the quote. And another thing is that the in-text citation is wrong. It's supposed to be, because this is a direct quote, all you need is the name of the author at the beginning and then the page or section number at the end. The way that they did their in-text citation was more for paraphrase. So it looks like they used a lot of in-text citations, and they focused a lot on the problem, like the different consequences or effects of dwarfism at the beginning. And the question was to complete a report on dwarfism and what are some things. How does it change the role of a teacher when they have students with dwarfism? And they continue with bullet points, which is all right for some people. Some students might deduce points from that. I typically would do it if they are doing it a lot, like this one. You could have easily explained that in a paragraph. But they do seem to understand the implications that dwarfism has in the classroom. So that is definitely a plus. And then the big no-no here is that they leave a quote at the end of their paper. So it's not even a conclusion, they just have the quote hanging there. And then the in-text citation is completely wrong. Reference page looks good. So now that I have looked over the paper in its entirety, I then go to assess. And you can definitely copy the way that I am grading, as in the comments. You want to make sure that you comment on each aspect, especially if you're grading lower than an 8. I think it's only fair for them to know why you chose that grade. And I'm being nice here, a 7 out of 10, because that student easily, if it were somebody else, could have gotten a 5 out of 10. But you know, I'm me, and I'm all about learning experiences, so it's totally fine that it happened. I just offer a solution to them. This is another thing that I wish more people would do, and I don't do it 100% of the time, is to give examples on how to make it correct. So I just show him how to do the in-text citation, because that's key to know how to integrate quotes. Here in this section, you want to give overall feedback. Was it a great paper overall? Was it confusing? Was it clear? Was it well written? Was it well done? Was it well expressed? Did the student understand? And you definitely want to start off with a positive. I do want to remind you that they are real humans on the other side of the screen. So you always have to keep that in mind. I know it's so easy to just, oh, it's a terrible paper, I'm just gonna be like, this was terribly written. I think one time somebody told me that I write as if I were an English language learner. And you know, that is true if we were talking about 6-year-old Elsie, but you know, I thought that was terribly rude because my writing is not ELL material. No offense to any ELLs out there, but all right. So now you want to click Save and Show Next. Let's go ahead and look at this one. Off the bat, we see that the student wrote the paper as a post rather than on a separate Google Doc or a Word document like most students would do. So the problem here is that we don't know how many pages the student actually wrote. So he talks about how the role of a teacher changes with students with dwarfism, but then they end there. There's no elaboration about that. Also, I didn't mention, but their introduction was pretty interesting. It's more of like a personal experience of him or her in the Philippines. And so they created a personal connection with dwarfism, but they definitely mention the different challenges that dwarfism has. So the student understands what's happening, the problems that come with dwarfism, and how the role of a teacher changes. But it's not enough. Like, it's very limited information. So he understands the importance, or they understand the importance of the topic, but there is not really much analysis. So let's go ahead and grade the paper. And again, I'm a very, very, very nice grader. So this could definitely look different for you. Maybe you're thinking, damn, I would have given them a 6. But if you do, just make sure that you explain what they could do better. Not what they didn't do, but what they could do. What could they implement next time? So avoid using words like, you shouldn't do this, you can't do that. Try to implement wording where you're like, try doing this next time. Or have you ever thought of implementing XYZ in your paper? Something like that. So here I could have easily said don't write as a post, but I didn't. I just said for next time you should try creating a Google Doc and write your paper there. Again, keeping positivity on the top of your head, because again, we are humans and we should respect one another even if we have a terrible paper. All right, save and show next. And now you will be reading the third one. Okay, so off the bat, the student should refrain from writing the questions, like the topic question directly on the paper. So off the bat, that's not good. And then I see that they use a bullet point as their intro. That's definitely a no-no. And I see a lot of, the spacing is a little weird. And they don't indent. And I see that there's a quote that is not integrated as well. So they mainly focus on what dwarfism is, disproportionate, proportionate, the problems that are faced by dwarfism. And it looks like they understand it for the most part. And the in-text citations look fine as well. And I also would recommend the student to bold the headings. And I also noticed that his English, or their English, is a little different because he says understudies multiple times, and I'm not sure what he means by that. For example, I might suspect, non-critical managing from their friends, acknowledge the distinctions as a whole, bring into our homeroom network. So it's a lot of, you can tell that this student is learning English because there are certain words that they are using that should be in a different context. For example, the word bargain, he says understudies bargain. Again, the spacing is weird, and they don't even capitalize students. I wonder if they used like their phone or something, like another device, and then when they downloaded it as a Word doc, it changed the format. I don't know. There's another one here where it says diminishing domineering jerk, which I'm not really sure what it means. Like, I'm really confused, like legit confused. Underscoring qualities, paying. Yeah, it's extremely confusing and very distracting, which sucks for the student because I'm sure he or she tried really hard. And just because his grammar was not up to par doesn't mean that the student doesn't understand the content. So that's why I gave him really good grades for the first two aspects. Again, the quality of writing was unclear. And you can see me struggling on how to provide positive feedback, or constructive feedback in a positive way. And then I take out certain words or quotes from their paper to reference that these are some of the words that are not supposed to be, or that are not relevant, they don't coincide with the topic. All right, that is it, folks. So please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, you found it beneficial, made your life so much easier, and go ahead and subscribe and click that notification bell so that you can get more content on the University of the People. And also, I am a Spanish teacher, so I do have content on Spanish related things, so do that right now. And yeah, that is it. Hasta luego. Bye bye.